Hi, I'm Dale Beaumont and welcome to another episode of Get Published TV. This is the only dedicated show on the internet to help you to write, publish and market your own best-selling book. Now, if you've been tuning into all of our previous episodes, you may be wondering, what's with the hat, Dale? Well, all's going to be revealed in a few moments' time. You see, one of the biggest questions that I get asked is, how should I get my book published? What is the best path? Should I actually go through a major book publisher? Or I've heard that you maybe should self-publish, and I've heard some negative things about that. So which one is really better and why? And I've spoken about that on previous episodes of Get Published TV. I've kind of laid out both options and left it up to you to make a decision. But even then, people still seem like they're a little bit confused and they don't know which direction they should go. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a complete direction. I'm actually going to give you a path that you can follow, and there's actually sort of 4 steps in the process, because there's actually 4 different ways or methods in which you can get your book published. There's actually a few more than that, but there are 4 major ways that we're going to talk about today. And what I want you to do, if you're a new author and you're looking to get out there, is to follow these one step at a time. And to follow through this whole analogy here, I've developed a little bit of what they would call a baseball diamond, I think it is, where you'd start down here, and you'd actually start over here at base number 1, then you go across to second base, and then you go to third base, and then eventually you hit a home run and you end up down the bottom there. So what I'm going to do now is go through and explain each of these 4 different methods for getting your book published. I'm going to explain to you what to do first and why. So once you've actually written your book, then what you really want to do, you can, if you want to, go straight ahead and try and pitch that to publishers if you want to. You can try to hit a home run straight away. That can be very tough and very difficult to do, especially if you're a first-time author. And for many people, after 6 months of banging their head against the wall, they end up saying, you know what, too tough, too difficult, and they end up either giving up altogether, which is a real tragedy, or they kind of fall back and they explore some other paths. Or what other people do is they jump straight into self-publishing their books. And self-publishing is great. I love self-publishing. I've self-published 16 books now. But even then, there's actually a cost of entry if you want to self-publish, because you have to underwrite the production costs of your book. So when you take into account things like editing, proofreading, typesetting, printing, marketing and distribution, you could be investing $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000. Of course, that depends on your print run and how many books you're doing at any one time, and a bunch of other variables as well. However, there's still a cost involved. Now, when I first got started some 10 years ago in publishing, there was really only 2 major paths: either go through a major major book publisher, or to self-publish. But now, just within the last decade, there's actually emerged 2 other options, which is a great way to kind of actually start getting your book out there into the marketplace, to start to actually build your followers, or to build your readership or your fans, whatever you want to call it. And it's a great way to then move forward and actually self-publish after you've gone through these 2 stages. So enough of the kind of overview, let's get into some details now. So the first step that you should actually go down if you're new is to get your book sold through digital format. Now, by digital, we actually mean that it's not actually a physical book that gets printed, it's actually just an electronic file that then gets downloaded onto people's computers. Now, of course, that they can print it out, or they can read it on their computer screen, or what's really, really exciting right now is they can read it on a whole lot of handheld devices, such as the Amazon Kindle. Recently, I was over in Europe and I was on a cruise ship with a lot of people from America, Canada, and of course people from the UK. And I was walking around the ship and I saw hundreds of people with these Amazon Kindles or the Sony e-readers. Why? Because these people were traveling quite a lot, and rather than carrying 5 or 10 or 20 books with them in their luggage, they'd carry these little handheld devices, and they were able to access up to 5,000 books, which is just mind-blowing when you think about it. This is a huge growing market, and what's so fantastic is you can get your book out there and in the hands of people with 0 cost. with zero cost, and you can actually, even if you start charging, you can actually earn some income from doing that. So it's great. It's a really fantastic thing to do. And there's actually a great website which I want to talk more about in a future episode of Get Published TV, and that's a great website called Smashwords. So remember that website and keep tuning in to Get Published TV, because I'm going to explain how that whole system comes together through one great website. Then the next step, once you kind of go from first base, which is do it through a digital format, then you probably want to go down this path, which is the print on demand path. Now, print on demand isn't actually a thing kind of on its own. It's actually in a way a subcategory. In fact, both of these two are in a way subsects of self-publishing, but it's a way to describe a method of printing. So before, 10 years ago, if you wanted to self-publish your book, you'd have to normally print a minimum of 1,000 copies in order to make it really economically viable, or sometimes even 2,000 or 3,000 before the costs actually, before it started to become worthwhile. However, now with with what's called digital printing, or also known as print on demand, there is technology available out there that now enables you to print any number of books that you like. So if you want to print just one copy, you can print one copy. If you want to print 5, you can print 5, 10, 100. It's up to you, whatever you like. Once you start to print more than somewhere between 500 and 1,000, then it actually becomes more economical to go through an offset printing machine and do larger volumes. But what that means is you can actually do a small, tiny print run of just a handful of books if you wish, and start to get those out in the marketplace. And what you can also do as well is you can either get 100 books through print on demand. Of course, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but you're not going to have the huge capital outlay. You can sell those, get the profit, and then reinvest again and go from 100 books to then 200, and then 200 to 400, and you just keep repeating the numbers and going bigger and bigger. So that's what print on demand is all about. Or alternatively, what you can do now is, instead of having any of that stock or inventory as it's called, you can actually store that file with a print on demand company. Then when an order comes in, you send that order to the print on demand company. They will print one book and ship it directly to the customer. So you actually never even touch that book. And then that way you don't have to print any more books than you actually need. So it's really, really powerful. It's kind of revolutionizing the whole publishing industry. However, once you've done that for a while, the costs do start to add up. You may be buying books for, $7, $8, $9, $10 a copy, when if you move to an offset printing machine, you can get those books done for maybe $1.50 or $2 per copy. So if you're now selling a large number of books, it would be much better to go back to more of a traditional self-publishing model, get those books printed through a professional book printer, and then you've got however many copies that you feel you can move. You may have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, and then you can just sell those books through, and then you're getting them basically at the exact cost price, as opposed to paying a premium price because you're doing limited volume over there. And then after you self-publish, some of you may choose to, by the way, stay at any of these stages. For some of you, you may just want to stay on first base, and if you do, great, fantastic. Some of you may want to stay on second base. That's great as well. Others of you may want to get to third base, which is where you're a self-published author like I've done. And then some people may want to go and hit a home run, which is to go through a major book publisher. Now, we've had conversations about the differences between going through self-publishing or going through a major publisher. One is not better than the other. It really just depends on ultimately what you want to achieve and how much control that you want to have over your work. However, if you're a self-published author and a publisher comes along and says, you know what, we're going to pay you $100,000 to write your next book, which is known in the industry as an advance, then that may be a more attractive option than to actually self-publish, because once you've become a big name, and once you're someone that people know and trust, I would rather want to get paid up front right away, as opposed to having to wait months or even years before I see a big return on their investment. And that's the reason why you would ultimately want to eventually get to the stage where you are published and signed by a major publisher. However, here's the deal. They don't publish untested, unproven people anymore. You may quote some names, but these are ones in thousands or ones in tens of thousands of people. What they're looking for now is people that have a proven track record. And how do you do that? By going through all these other stages, getting to third base, creating a huge crowd and a huge audience, and then going to the publisher. Do you want the next book, or do you want to republish this book, which is already proven to be successful? I know I've gone over my 8-minute limit for most of these videos, but I really wanted to get this message across. There's so much more that we can talk about in this particular area, and I'm really excited about this area of digital publishing. So we're going to talk about that on a future episode. Keep tuning in to Get Published TV and leave us your comments. I've had to rush through this very quickly, so go to getpublishedtv.com if you're not already on the site and click on the button where it says leave a comment. I want to hear from you. Tell me your thoughts. Where do you want me to go with this? If you want me to expand on any of these points, I'm happy to, but I want you to kind of guide me on where to go next. This is Dale Beaumont here from Get Published TV. It's been a pleasure sharing this message. Thanks for watching. See you again next time.